For me, at least,
Storm. Okay, I'm gonna leave that in.
I know I'm yapping a lot.
No, it's okay.
So
I'll cut.
Okay.
It's okay.
Perfect.
Just talk. Go ahead. All right. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Chris checking in with another video. I have a very, very special guest today, my good friend Vic. Hi Vic.
Hello, Chris and everybody.
Yes. So guys, it is Pride Month, and I'm trying to push my cat away. I'm sorry. It's Pride Month, and in this series that I'm creating, I'm really just trying to highlight significant stories and showcase the diversity of the LGBTQ community here in Washington, D.C. I feel that in many times in our community, there's a lot of misperception about the G, the B, the L, and the T. And today we have a member from the T part of the LGBTQ community who is going to enlighten us about their experience, what it's like to be part of the LGBTQ community, what it's like to walk, and also, honestly, just to educate me as well as other viewers who are also curious. So I'm very thankful for you, Vic, for being willing to come and answer these questions for us today. So should we get started?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, great. Okay, so first I would like you to describe your journey to understanding and embracing your identity as a non-binary person. And first things first, I would like you to tell us how you want to be referred to and what is a proper way to address you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
So my name is Vic. I go by he and they pronouns. I identify as a transmasculine, non-binary, butch lesbian. So I'm kind of like at different intersections of the LGBT community. I realized that I was a lesbian pretty early on in life. I was very comfortable identifying as a lesbian, as a masculine presenting lesbian as well. As I was identifying as a masculine lesbian, I started also exploring a little bit with my gender, because I felt more comfortable in masculinity. So I just like to have my hair short, dress a certain way, being called she and her, and being perceived as a woman and as a masculine lesbian woman felt a little bit disconnected from like what I personally felt like was how I perceived myself.
Right.
So I started using he, him pronouns probably in like 2019 when I was like about 19 years old. So in all my relationships, I just really enjoyed being called like a boyfriend or like using he, him pronouns, but still, I was still fully identifying as a lesbian as well, which like for some people might seem confusing or might seem a little bit weird. You know, being somebody who identifies as a lesbian and uses he, him pronouns might feel even contradictory. For example, for me, he and him is a testimony of like my masculinity and my perception of my own masculinity. And that is outside of like he, him being associated with manhood. Because I do not identify as a man. That's something I'm also putting out there. I identify as transmasculine, I identify as a masculine, and butch, and lesbian, because I am attracted to women, and I do not identify as a woman, but I also don't identify as a man.
Yes. So could you make something clear for us? So many people, for example, that even if they are part of the LGBTQ community, some people identify themselves as non-binary. So could you explain what that means to us?
Absolutely. Non-binary is an umbrella term that just englobes a bunch of identities that are pretty much anything that isn't just a man and a woman. Some non-binary people identify as trans. Some are just like, oh, I'm not a man and I'm not a woman, but I don't identify as trans. So I think that's also just a personal, experience and preference. And part of the journey of understanding who I was also thanks to like more media representation on, you know, like trans experiences. Especially now that there's social media, now that there's like more trans characters and like even trans actors and personalities that are like exploring their gender more like publicly. And so I think it's easier today to, you know, like understand yourself if you have other people who are representing like those stories and those experiences. And like that really resonated with me, like seeing people be like, oh, like I am not, I don't identify as a man or as a woman, and like that this is just who I am. And I was like, oh yeah, great. I feel that. In what ways does visibility or the lack of it impact your experience or impact someone's experience in general as a trans person? I think that right now there is more representation than there's been in the past, that's for sure. And I think that this representation is very, very helpful. And like just like feeling very alienated or like alone in my experience, like just the only people that I first related to were masked lesbians, because these were like the first, you know, like examples of gender non-conforming people, because like, you know, like at the end of the day, a masculine presenting woman is somebody who's gender non-conforming.
Okay.
Because like that's challenging gender roles.
Gender norms in society.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like my first introduction to like kind of embracing that part about myself, is like seeing like masculine lesbians in media or just like online talking about their experiences. And at the same time, we're also at like a very pivotal moment where like trans people are overrepresented almost in the media, but in a negative way.
Okay.
Talking about trans people being, you know, like bad influences or even predators and things like that. And that actually is very, very dangerous.
It is, yeah.
Because it is just weaponizing a minority who is already vulnerable to just, you know, gain political traction. Because I'm just a person, we're just people who want to live our lives authentically and happily and freely, just like everybody else. Again, this is not a monolith. We're all different.
Absolutely.
And we're genuinely just people. And that's why we need positive representation.
Yes.
And like more stories that are positively and adequately representing trans people out there, so that more kids and young people who are just, you know, starting in their journeys can have models and people they can look up to and be, oh, this person is just happy and thriving and living their life, and that's exactly what I want.
How do you see that? You talked about the media, but what about in politics, maybe the workplace or in social circles
absolutely.
in the school?
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't have enough visibility in those spaces. It's starting. There are a few lawyers or like, you know, lawmakers who are openly trans, who are working right now that I know of at least. But I think we're just at the very beginning, and when people start opening these doors, like that really paves the way for more people afterwards who will be, you know, just seeing somebody who's having a career path that like maybe somebody who's younger can see themselves and relate and be like, oh, one day that I want that to be me. I also want to have a career. I want to have a voice. I want my voice to be heard. I want to make a difference. And I think that's what, you know, that's a very human thing to want. Like we all
community.
We want a community, but we also we also want to have a voice. We want to have a space in the world.
Yes, and feel respected.
And having politicians who defend our interests. And who, you know, value our community and our, you know, point of view and our unique challenges, and see that and fight for us is really, really important at that time. So.
Wow. So next question is a little bit more personal. So I wanted to ask, how has transitioning affected your relationships, family-wise, friendship-wise, dating, and maybe even professionally, if you're comfortable with sharing?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I want to start with like the positives first, because I think a lot of the time when people talk about trans issues, it's often about how difficult the experience is, or like, you know, like people feeling uncomfortable in their skin and things like that, which is true. It is part of the experience. But for me, at least, like transitioning just helped me be more present and like grounded in my relationships and my approach to people professionally. Everything, just being more comfortable in my skin just allows me to be like more present in my relationships as well. So I think it's just helped me build more, like allowed me to be more vulnerable in my relationships. And it does make it challenging. It's not all, you know, glossy like I'm talking about right now. Like obviously, it was a little hard with my family. They don't fully understand, which is okay. I don't expect people to fully understand, but you know, being misgendered or like not having my name used the way that I want, or people being confused and things like that. Like these are all things that are a little bit challenging on a day-to-day basis, and it does affect like my relationship to others. But at the same time, I think that people, at the end of the day, like people are not hateful. They may make mistakes, but I don't think it comes necessarily from a place of
malice.
Of malice.
Yes.
So I'm trying to also be patient
Yeah.
with people, but at the same time, still standing up for myself. Like this is me. Please use my name and please use my pronouns,
Yes.
because that is what makes me feel happy and seen and respected.
Yes.
So
would you also say safe as well?
safe too. Yeah.
Okay.
Because also if like I look the way I look, like I look pretty masculine, so somebody calling me she, her, or something may put me at risk.
Yeah, that's right.
In certain settings.
Would you say transitioning has also give you room to explore the human aspect of being trans beyond just identity politics? Is there any sense of normalcy now that you have transitioned and you're accepting and walking in who you believe you are?
Oh, absolutely. I think like I'm just more present in my body, and just like I just feel like this is who I've always like meant to be. So I'm just like more I'm just like able to navigate the world more easily and just with more ease than I used to. I feel like people read me the way that I want to be read, so that allows me to just be more confident in the way that I assert myself, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is me, and I don't have to like hide or be apologetic or feel like I'm keeping a part of myself hidden or secret from the rest of the world. Like now it's all in the open. So it's very interesting, and I think also having lived as a woman, then a masculine woman, and then kind of like having that kind of like androgynous phase, and now like kind of passing more to that like masculine or even like male passing, has been like very, very interesting in terms of like how society responds to people based on their gender and their appearance and how people perceive you, like the difference of treatment or like understanding the world on like a very like having like a wide variety of perspectives on like how the world responds to you is also like a unique experience, and like I wouldn't have seen this without exploring myself and like taking these steps. So I think that's also like a kind of like a magical thing about like being trans, is just the unique perspective that you have not only on yourself but also on everything that surrounds you and on the world and society. So that's like super, super interesting for sure.
Wow.